Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at the new Battle Pass, which has just started, Skilled Marksman. And two things before we get into the Warbond shop, which is the main part of this video. Number one is there was a clarification about the battle trophy for the naval box. Basically, if you have 3 out of the 4 vehicles already, you are guaranteed to get the 4th. So if you don't have the vehicles, but you do have some of them, you're guaranteed to get one of the ones that you don't have. If you have all 4, I'm guessing you get SL, but that's kind of how it's always worked with these boxes, which kind of sucks. So yeah, you are guaranteed to get a vehicle if you don't have all 4. The next thing is in the Warbond shop itself. Of course, it's switched over to different decorations and stuff, and also the Muerte pinup, which looks really nice, and then also the good old the Zodiac stuff is back. But on top of the Zodiac stuff, they have actually snuck in the collections for the Zodiacs. So if you're a collector of collections like I am, this is something to focus on. So you need all of the different Zodiac signs in order to get yourself the special Zodiac pinup. So the way to get the Zodiac signs is when they're available, such as the Gemini one in the last Battle Pass, which was available right here. And then there is a box here which has them all in, which you'll be able to activate once a Battle Pass. So that's the way to get the collection. Okay, let's get into the actual Warbond shop itself and what's available. There is not too many things that are different. Obviously, you don't get a camouflage this one. They're still rotated out, which really annoys me, in favor of the other decorations for ground. Not a huge fan of the fact that they do that. And then for test drives, you have a few different vehicles that are on offer. You have the Polar, you have the TAM2IP, the G91R4, and then also the Mi-24 HFS80. So all of these vehicles are not too bad. I would say the TAM2IP is probably the best out of them if you want to get the most bang for your buck. And then also the G91R4 is useful in ground and also in air at the same time. The Mi-24 HFS isn't that bad. It's actually pretty good and can run with a decent ground lineup as well. So does have access to quite a few decent systems to keep it alive. And the Polar, I would say, is one of the better Italian vehicles at 5.7. But 5.7 Italy is really not very good. So it's one of those which I'd probably stay away from. So if you're looking at the test drive area, I would go for the TAM. And then I would also go for the G91R4. I think both of those are pretty good. So let's get into the premiums. There are a few of them which are new this time, which we haven't seen before. But still, there's no real extension of, you know, what we've seen, well, what we would like to see, right? With the game going up to, like, rank 8 nowadays, it would be nice to be able to get some more premiums. By the way, also, today, just to let you know, the Flight of the Albatross event has also started, so you can couple this with the Battle Pass if that's what you want to do. So, let's get through the premiums. The first one's the Fokker DXXI. This is a Finnish aircraft, which is in the Swedish tech tree. I really don't think this aircraft's very good. I know some people like it because of its armament, and I'm sure in arcade it's probably pretty good because you don't have to worry too much about the flight performance. But the problem with this vehicle, it has very, very large amounts of drag because you have the wheels which cannot be retracted, and then also the engine itself is not really powerful. It's the Bristol Mercury 8, which doesn't have a ton of horsepower compared to stuff around it, and this means that the vehicle very much struggles to turn, it very much struggles to loop, it very much struggles to do all of those things, and that puts it in a very negative position compared to its other compatriots. So there's a lot of these vehicles at low tier which have quite a lot of firepower, but they don't have an ability to use it because people are able to get away from your guns, and that's what the D21 is. In Air Realistic, it's very hard to actually get these guns on target because people are usually super maneuverable at this BR. So for me, it's a no, unfortunately. I think that there are much better options to pick up in the Swedish tree if you're looking to grind aviation. Even if you have to spend a little bit of money, this one will just cause frustration. unless you're playing Air Arcade. If you're playing Air Arcade, then a lot of those issues aren't huge. The next one is the Aigle, which this is a French destroyer, and I've got to say, I actually like this as a pickup. So I know it's not rank 3, but it is one of the lower tier premiums in the Warbond shop, and at rank 2 you can do your first daily, which is quite nice. And one of the cool things about rank 2 for France and the Aigle is if you have a look at their blue water fleet, you have all of these other 4.3s that you can run with it, and then also you can technically run it at 4.7 with the Malin and also the Jeanne d'Arc to give you a bit of a premium bonus. So this vehicle is a very good 4.3. It has 5 of the single 138.6 millimeters. These for France have a lot of damage, or a lot of TNT equivalent, with 2.53 kilo with its AP shell. So it has enough penetration to be able to go through any destroyer, and also enough explosive to do a lot of damage to it. It's really fun using these French guns. I think they're really enjoyable to use. It also has the 1923 DT torpedoes. These are okay, I suppose. Like they're very middling in terms of the torpedoes you can get at this BR. And also they come in 2 launchers, which can be fired at either side of the machine, which is huge. Its secondary armament is very poor. It only has some 37s, which have a very, very bad fire rate. Like they're up, well, you got the 13.2s here, which the Hotchkisses, they have a bit better fire rate, but the 37s are back here. And yeah, they have a really poor fire rate. 30 rounds per minute for a 37 means 2 rounds every 1 round every 2 seconds. And if you compare that to a lot of other AA mounts, such as the 20mm Oerlikon or the 40mm Bofors, or even just the 37mm for Germany, it's very, very bad. So the secondaries are not good on it, but the main guns hit like a truck, and that's what makes it fun. You also have a decent fire rate on the guns, and at the same time, you have a terrible targeting speed, but once you get the guns on target, you will do a ton of damage. So I really like the French guns, I really like the French destroyers, I think they're really fun, and they also offer something different from the meta, which can also work. And the fact that it's at 4.3, and you can run it with all of these vehicles as you research through the French tech tree, you're going to get a lot of use out of it while getting through all of these things. So I would say overall it's a good vehicle to pick up. I really enjoy the fact that they added this one in. The Chiha shotgun, it's meme time. Do you like memes? I'm a memer. You gotta love memes. This is a Chiha, where they've added a 120mm shotgun on it. Basically a donkey gun. This one was one of the earlier premiums that came to the Japanese tech tree. I think it might have been one of the starter premiums, actually. And the vehicle itself is not very good. Let's put that out there. Even if it actually had a proper gun, like the standard Chiha, the armor doesn't really stand up to anything. The vehicle doesn't have great mobility or anything like that. It doesn't really strike out as survivable or anything. You're basically picking this up if you want to have funny shooty bang bang times, which is fine, you know. There's a lot of people who do just enjoy rocking up to a battle and just bonking people. That's the whole point of stuff like the Churchill Avery, for example, and things like that. But I just don't really think the Chiha shotgun is very good at it, because even at this BR you run into a lot of autocannons, which will just bray you, and they'll be able to go through your armor and destroy you, and you'll just be sat there with only a HE shell, and if you miss, then you have a long reload that you have to wait on to be able to deal with what's coming in. So yeah, it's one of those that you take out with your mates, or, you know, if you're bored at high tier and you want to do a few low tier games just to kind of relax off. But I feel like there are a lot better vehicles for that. And also, if you're a person looking to grind, this is just not it. You know, it's not going to be fun. It's just going to be frustrating. The next one is the PT-174. This one, surprisingly, is the higher battle pass vehicle. I don't really understand why. I don't get why this one is not here. It should be one of those. The 174, there's nothing really wrong with it. It has a really nice kind of setup. And one of the weird things is if you have a look at the PT boats, which are around 3.0, you'll actually find that there's not really too much difference between them and this one. The only difference maybe like two 40mm instead of one. But yeah, the 174 has this 40mm Bofors L60 on the front, meaning that you can go forward and hammer people with it. One of the best coastal naval guns is this one. It has very good range and also very good rate of fire and damage, so it's really nice to use. It also gets these Mark 13 torpedoes. These torpedoes aren't the best, but they're good enough for what you need them to be, which is to block off paths as you're trying to move to different areas with the PT-174. You do get artillery support as well, which is quite nice, and also the thing is super maneuverable. The vehicle doesn't have a lot of survivability, it's only got 12 crew, but the whole point of a vehicle like this is to go fast, to get around flanks, use the 40mm to take people out at a distance of 2 kilometers or more, and then use the torpedoes to either take on larger ships which are coming in, or, as I said, try and deal with people from a distance. You don't want to get too close to enemies with this thing, and if planes come after you, then you have the secondary armaments to keep you alive. So this vehicle can work very well. I think overall it's a nice vehicle to have to get you into the coastal territory of America. There are a few rough vehicles to get through when it comes to America, so yeah, it's one of those which can be a bit rough, but I think overall this premium can help you get through it if that's what you want to do. America has a lot of very fun coastal lineups, specifically around stuff like the Candid and also the Thunderbolt, if you want to look at another premium to get. And this one can and will be useful in pretty much every BR, especially if you just want to cap zones and stuff. But overall, it's one of those which I would want to be a higher rank for a Battle Pass vehicle. The next one is the A20G30. This one is a rank 3. So this is the first one that we've looked at, which can do all of the dailies and specials. Which is kind of crazy when you once again when you think about the fact that you know, we have rank 8 in the game now, and most of the Battle Pass vehicles we're getting are not even rank 3. So this vehicle is very similar to the American A20 that we have, and I suppose also the British ones that are around, or at least similar to the A20. This one still has its 50 cals, so it has the 6 50 cals in the front right here. It also has 2 turrets, one with a dual mount of a 50 and one with a single mount. It also has the R2600s, which put out a lot of power, meaning that you can get around the place at a decent click. And the big difference between this and the American A20 is the bomb loads. This one actually gets Soviet bomb loads, which is kind of fun. So you can get the 1,000 kilo bombs, which are very good in ground or very good in naval, and then also you can get 250s, and you can get some 50 kilos as well. The cool thing that you can also get is torpedoes. Now, these torpedoes are not the best. They definitely pale in comparison to a lot of other vehicles' torpedoes around this BR. But one thing must be noted. These Soviets at low tiers do not get a lot of torpedo slingers. You have like the IL-4, I think it is, and then that's kind of about it. There's probably a few more, but it's really limited. So if you're looking for a vehicle to run at kind of low tier naval, for example, so let's say you're with the USSR, right, and you want to start getting into the Blue Water Fleet for the Soviets, what you can do is you can get this out of the Battle Pass, and it gives you an option to hit things with torpedoes. And there are specials, there are dailies which are based around it, you know, hitting stuff with torpedoes, and this can be something you do. If you don't want to use stuff like the Hellcat, or if you don't want to use stuff like the Mauler, you can use the A20G at a pretty low BR for it, and also get access to 2 torpedoes. So if you screw one up, you have an extra one. So yeah, that's the cool thing about it. It does get engine injection too, so those engines will roar a little bit further. So overall, in ground and also naval, this thing is pretty decent, especially at the BRs that it has. In air, it's pretty dull, and you know, you won't really be doing much in this thing. You'll basically just be hitting a base and then disappearing again, and maybe doing the secondary fighter role, but in the ground and naval area, I think this is a good pick to get. The last one is the pz.Bed.Wg.IV. Now, I can't stand the 4J, and there is a reason for this. Not just the standard Panzer 4J, but also the Befehlswagen one. The issue is the turret ring. So this one doesn't have a powered turret ring, which means that it's really, really slow. I'll show you the difference between them, right? So the Panzer Befehlswagen in the German tech tree can be found at, I believe, rank 3. There it is, right here. So it will do all of your dailies, it will do all of your specials. It also means that at 3.7, when all of the other vehicles in the German tech tree are rank 2, this one is rank 3. So you can actually boot up a lineup with these guys if you want to be able to actually, you know, run them together. You could also put an AA in your lineup and do exactly the same thing, but you don't have to. So, Panzer 4H, right? You have a look at this vehicle, looks very similar to the Panzer Befehlswagen. It has 11 degrees per second horizontal guidance speed and also 2.8 degrees of vertical, okay? And that's because it has this powered ring. Now, the 4J, which is right here, this is the standard tech tree one. This one has a horizontal guidance speed of 7 and then a vertical guidance speed of the same. So it's lost 4 degrees of horizontal guidance speed, and that is when it's fully, you know, fully sorted out. This one, when it isn't, it has 5.9 degrees of horizontal guidance speed, but remember, it is a premium, so you'll get all of these modifications for free, and that means that, you know, you'll be able to get that 7 degrees worth of horizontal guidance speed that's around. So it's basically a worse version of the standard Panzer IV, and you don't really get too much of, you know, additions on it, apart from it's a rank 3 instead of a rank 2 compared to the standard Panzer IVs. Then you get some extra armor, I suppose, against heat, but there's hardly any vehicles that you'll fight which really care about that. In terms of armor on the front, you have this flat plate which everybody shoots through, and even then you have this area which everybody shoots through. The Panzer IV armor is very not that good. The engine power is pretty nice, and the gun itself is very good. You know, the APC-BC of the PGR-39 does a lot of penetration and a lot of post-pen damage. The issue with this vehicle is just harder to get the gun on target compared to other vehicles which are very similar to it. And that's the problem right there, that issue with this vehicle. And a lot of vehicles can get around it because they have a pretty good powertrain and they can, you know, move their tracks, so therefore you can turn the whole vehicle with the gun. But with something like a Panzer IV, because you have such weak armor, you want to try and angle it a little bit and try and get some more armor to kind of survive. But even then it's hard to do with the fact that this kind of side superstructure is so weak. So yeah, this vehicle for me is not really worth it. It's actually better, in my opinion, if you're grinding through this part of the tech tree, to just run the Panzer 4H with stuff like the Panzer IV F2 and G, and then just stick either at the Ostwind or the Whirlwind in the lineup if you want a rank 3 lineup to do dailies and specials. And if you're looking for a premium around this BR, which is maybe a little bit better, then I would consider something like this. The captured T-34 is a much nicer proposition than the Panzer Befehlswagen 4J. So yeah, you can see that this battle pass, it has a lot of faces which are new, which is cool. It's nice to see a lot of rotation here, but also at the same time, not exactly the best faces that are around. If you wanted kind of my like 1 to 6, I would put the Aigle as number 1, because, as I said, the French tech tree is very fun, and the destroyers are very fun in it. Number 2 would actually be the PT-174, because as the low-tier coastal can be hard to get into, and if you want to get the nice lineups from America, this can give you a boost for it. Number 3 would be the A20G30, because of its multi-role use in ground and also naval, and gives you some options that other Soviet vehicles will not give you. Number 4 is the pz.Bed.Wg.IV. It's still a decent vehicle. It's just got weaknesses which you don't have to deal with because you could just use other vehicles. And then for the 5, it is the Fokker DXXI. Obviously, it has its issues. And number 6 is the Chiha shotgun. So overall, not very fun. But yeah, just remember, there's now collections for the Zodiac, so that's probably what I'm going to be focusing on. Just to give you an idea of what I was able to get in the last Battle Pass. So I was able to get the decal, I was able to get the camouflage, and I was also able to get all 3 talismans. So that gives you an idea of, if you grind out the Battle Pass to kind of the full extent, what is able to be there. So plenty of Warbonds on offer, plenty of, stuff to get, and all I can say is good luck, Godspeed, hopefully you can sort it out. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.